What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Doe Show. It's your boy Dan D, and I am back with another one. Today, we're going to be talking about a Black History moment and why it is important for us not to forget what was done to our ancestors. I have a guest who's going to be. I have a few guests that's going to be joining us on the show today. Hopefully, we have more as the show goes along. But I'll allow my first guest to introduce himself to the show.
My name is Joseph Knowles.
There we go. There we go. Well, welcome to the show again, Joe. I'm just getting set up now. Getting ready to do a show, man. Like I said earlier before we started the show, um, I was on YouTube, social media, and this video came through my feed. And it kind of touched me of what happened to these folks in this video, and I'm like, this is a clear reminder of why we should not allow for the government to try to help us forget, Black history or what was done to our ancestors or just history alone. You know, um,
hmm
I, I, I I hope this does not offend anyone. It's not. This conversation is not to offend white folks. It's to educate white and Black folks, but mainly to educate the youth of today and tomorrow. To so that they can see what happened. To our ancestors to be able to keep this thing alive. Because it should not be forgotten. It always should be talked about. Because we were dealing with a group of people that did not have our best concerns. At that time, and then a lot of people will say in present time. But I have a video that I'm getting ready to play. I have everything queued up. Give me 1 second. I have to add it to the setup. But yeah, man, like I said, this is just me doing my part on Black history. So this is going to be a Black history moment. So here we go. I got everything queued up. I'm getting ready to show this video. So here we go. Then after the video, we'll get to our commentary. Okay, here we go, Joe.
Now to a News Nation exclusive investigation into a secret government experiment that was carried out in St. Louis. Residents tell us they still remember a mysterious fog. Children would run through it. Mothers would try and close their windows against it. For decades, they all had questions, and now we're seeking answers. The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say with warning, no concern. We'll tonight turn to the site of that demolished neighborhood and speak with former residents who believe the government turned them into human test subjects. Although the Army admits that the test happened, it is not admitted permanence. Natasha Zhu, News Nation's best. What would
drifting through the
street. Go. That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog. It was just run through it as fast as and try to just cool out of fall stuck to you.
The spray so foul, the spoil is the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back, and it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick, and it really, we felt it as it went to our skin. As the guys, the buildings, they tried to put them to us as mainmakers. We just look at they basically had and goggles.
In the 1960s, U.S. sprayed sulfide in the air of a St. Louis housing project, large black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects. They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us.
We're standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river.
The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed large area coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the US and Canada, spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well, isn't
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran also.
Is there a sense of betrayal here?
Definitely, definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1990 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 300-page report. We did, and the Army doesn't the full 1997 review explicitly repeat. It says for national security reasons. More troubling, key Army exposure records were missed.
It looked like we may have a few technical difficulties.
Finally,
If so, are you seeing everything good?
But
Yeah,
it wasn't feasible.
yeah.
In short, it did not test the site, collect samples, or test residents, and they didn't have access to all the data. Their review was based on what the Army gave them and what the Army either could not find or withheld. The Army ends a statement whose name a radioactive component, cadmium sulfide. Residents say the secrecy and delays are no accident.
They're waiting us out.
You know, all of us to die.
That's not even the whole story.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this and come to difficulties.
Clean with what
You heard what they said, so let me stop this. They're waiting on all these people to die. We look like we just got Big Ken that just joined the stage. Joe, was you able to hear the video clear?
Yeah, I was able to hear it. Not very clear, but I was able to hear it.
Yeah, I was able to hear it too,
look, and I'm gonna start this off. Big Ken, I don't know if you can hear me, but go ahead. I can't see you. Go ahead and introduce yourself formally to the show.
It's Big Ken from the 313. What up, though?
Okay. Well, adjust your camera because you cannot be seen. So look, I'm gonna start this off, man. I'm coming from not where I'm trying to offend anyone. I'm coming from a point where I'm trying to, even educate white folks, and then that mainly, most of all, is trying to educate the youth of today and then the youth of tomorrow. From this video that we just saw, pretty much, man. When I saw it, when it came to my feed, I'm like, I have to talk about this. This is a reminder, to me, of why it's important for us to, not forget about Black history and what was done to our ancestors. You know what I mean? Because it was just so many horrible things that was done that they didn't even have knowledge, of what was done to them. So my whole thing is to this is just to remind, our people, our youth, and then, like I said, to even some white folks that may have not even known, the things that their ancestors and the tricks and the things that they done, to those people of those times. So Joe, give me your thoughts, give me your opinion on what you saw from that video. These people were poisoned. So give me your thoughts and your opinion on that, on how it's important, for the youth of today and tomorrow to keep, Black history alive, because like I said, they're surely trying to erase a lot of this stuff from our history.
I don't. Yeah. So yeah, that was real, but that wasn't the only thing that happened. Testing. It was several. It was just the toxicity uh experiment too.
Tuskegee.
It's
Yes,
the Tuskegee
I
Airmen.
got.
Yeah.
And that was done. That was done too. So it was several of them, and I'm just reminding myself of some of these studies. It was a syphilis study when it was purposely given like 700 black men
Syphilis.
syphilis. Yep, and that was done in Alabama, but it was mainly done on poor people and sharecroppers at that particular moment. And what they was doing is lying to them and acting like they was curing them, but really they was actually using them as an experiment.
Yeah.
And that was history. That's one of them. You have, but it was mainly done in black cities where they had limited politicians and limited resources to even fight back. And that's why they
In
use black.
this particular incident, and I want to ask that question too, and I'm glad you brought that up. This particular incident happened in a well, hold on, give me 1 second. In a housing community, 10,000 residents, and this happened in a low housing community, where it was pretty much just all predominantly Black folks. My question to you, Big Hen, and Joe just brought that up too. This isn't the first experiment. They've experimented with our people with the Tuskegee experiment that they've done that. And I know me and you, Big Hen, before we started recording, we've talked about certain things that they've done and experiments that they've done on our people. So I'm asking you that same question. Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinion on what was done to our people, in St. Louis at that time. Them experimenting and releasing these chemical compounds in the air. Now to the point where most of these people are dying of cancer.
I would like to know if they did that same experiment amongst their own people. Because if our people is dying of cancer and stuff like that, then it was an experiment that was did for us. And like Joe said, every experiment that's been did to us has been in projects and poverty type of situations. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
minority
So,
situations. Yeah, minority
and,
field
right. And
areas.
I,
I should
I
say.
want to bring up another example that don't get talked about. There was some horrific, just as horrific as that, is the bomb of Philadelphia when they came in there and bombed 2 city blocks just because the people was trying to live the way that they wanted to live, and they were revolutionaries.
Hey, Big Hen,
And
adjust the camera, and I don't know if you have something else in the background playing, but I hear a lot of your feedback. I hear you echoing. But yeah, you can go ahead and finish talking. I just wanted you to adjust your camera, and you might want to turn your volume down a little bit. But yeah, man, Big Ken hit it right on the nose. Joe did too. And this is why I want to have this conversation for those who may have not known about situations like this, these are the things that our ancestors were dealing with, and we still deal with today. So this is my Black History moment on why it is not important for us to forget what was done to our ancestors. So Big Ken, go on ahead and finish your statement.
yeah, I was just saying that when they put a play down on us, they tend to try to make us forget about what was done to us, as if it didn't leave a stain on our community for years. It's just like a lot of people believe that Black people ain't never owned nothing, they never did nothing. But we have Black Wall Street and things of that nature, and we have Black businesses right here in Detroit, Michigan, where they came and did what they did to stop us from thriving in our own Black community. So we just got to remember, I'm not saying that we supposed to be the type of people that, go around saying, hey, woe is me about everything, but we can't forget about what was done to us and the things they did to keep their foot on our neck. Dr. Henry Clark said the only way you can get somebody off your back is to stand straight up, and that's what we need to do.
So
I couldn't have said it no better. But Joe, I'll go ahead and allow you to finish your statement on that. You know, yeah, it was just horrible things that was done to our people. And like I said, I'm not trying to offend nobody. I'm just trying to educate those who may have not heard about these such things that were done, to our people, and I just want to, even the white people that may be watching this, to let them see the things that their ancestors, the tricks and the devious and the devilish things that they were doing, to our ancestors back in those times. So Joe, I'll go ahead and allow you to finish elaborating on your statement.
the reason why, like I said, they did it to black people was easy because at that particular moment we didn't have nobody representing us. They killed the ones who did have our best interests, and it was easier where there would be no public backlash if you did do it. So the doctors today still had that mindset. They still think that, and you heard it from Robert Kennedy, and I'm a supporter of Robert Kennedy. I think that he's changing the way we look at food and medicine. So I'm a supporter, but you still hear that rhetoric where they think that black people can feel less pain. They think that black people have thicker skin. They think black people can heal faster, and they think that black people have a pain tolerance. It still is taught that we at some point that we are superhuman and we can be able to
Yeah,
handle that.
and I'm
And
glad
that's
you
one
brought
of the
that up,
reasons why
because
they did that.
it yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it was so much stuff done to, our women alone, them experimenting and putting them through such, a hard time, even just having childbirth. A lot of our women
Yeah, yeah,
would be
yeah.
getting
They sterilized
experimenting
them.
on with no pain, no epidurals or things like that. So those are, these are the things that why I wanted to, have a conversation about today's video that we saw, to remind, like I said, the youth for today and the youth for tomorrow, and to remind some whites who may have not known that these were the type of things that was going on, back in those times with our people. But yeah, so Joe, if you have anything else you want to add to that, go ahead and add, and then we can, I'll let Big Ken come back in. But Big Ken, fix your camera, man. I cannot see you at all. Bring it down some more. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead, Joe.
It's
But
this
yeah,
stand,
man,
man.
like I
My
said,
bad.
and I'll ask you this question, Joe. I want you to let people know why it is important, for us to continue to have these type of conversations, and why it's important for, the youth of today and tomorrow to be able to hear this stuff, to be able to go on ahead and speak this and be able to, let the people of the youth of their time when they grew up to be able to hear these stories, so I want to do my part, on making sure that a lot of this stuff gets out, so go ahead and elaborate, Joe, and tell people why you think it's important for, history like this to be talked about and to be shown to people who may have not saw this or heard about this.
I will say this. One of the things that I will disagree with is that we want white people to be the one to teach our history. I hate that way of thinking. It's not the white people's responsibility to teach history. It's not the school teachers. It's not the President Trump. It's not government. So when people are having a backlash about Trump erasing some of our
That's
black
crazy because Big
remembrance,
Ken, we were just talking about that, Joe. Go ahead, though. We just were talking about the whole Trump trying to erase the DEI, and all that type of stuff that had a
well,
lot to do with blacks.
no. DEI has nothing to do with black people. It
Well,
was
a
never
lot of
made for
people would
us.
think that it do have a lot to do with
It,
blacks.
it had nothing to do with us. What was
Okay,
going
well, go
on?
ahead and elaborate and tell people why it did not have nothing to do with us.
Well, if you look at statistically, it just benefited white people and Asian and anyone else more than it benefited us. And it was just a way of counter the affirmative action, my opinion on that. But
Because
Elaborate
you
on
got,
that.
because you have a lot
Elaborate
of
on
people,
that.
even Big Ken. We were just talking about that. Go ahead, elaborate, Big Ken.
Now I want to hear what he mean by it didn't affect us. It was put here for us. So I want to hear him elaborate on that.
Turn your volume down on your TV here because we're hearing a lot of echoing coming from you. Go
well,
ahead, Joe.
Uh
yeah, I can hear him pretty well. No problem.
I can hear
okay.
him, but I hear a lot of echoing when he's talking. But yeah, he wants
Oh,
to know
okay.
why you think DEI was not was not put in place for blacks.
DEI attention was to it was probably trying to bring fairness, but who did not benefit was from us. We didn't benefit from that. I do not like DEI. I'm one of the ones that don't believe in it whatsoever. I didn't like it from the very get go, and I still don't like it.
Okay,
And the
now
reason
elaborate why so people can know.
because we are not when you use DEI as a way of uh trying to draw fairness, what you do is limit their credential and focus more and and
Oh yeah,
focus
my bad.
more and focus more on race and that's you focus more on race and you focus more on the ethnic group, studying their credential, and that's why I got a problem with it. DEI has did nothing but question whether or not we can do the job. It needs the question mark there, and then a lot of us are smart. Black people are smart. A lot of black people know their stuff, know their job, but when you are getting undermined based on race, everything that that black person had worked hard for has been undermined because they focus more on his race. We just got to get a certain amount of black people in here. We got to get a certain amount of a minority in here, and that disqualify how hard that person worked and limits what other people can see in that person because we so focused on the race.
Now
And
I want to say
you
this,
don't
Joe.
get the best.
Don't you
You don't
think it
get
was
the
kind of
best.
put in place though for corporations where black people, were coming to these corporations and had the experience, had the knowledge, and had the actual degrees to be able to back up. But the whole thing I think DEI was set in place is for situations like that where you may have a black man or a woman that come into a corporation that has all the skills, but will get passed up for certain positions that they normally would get, but they would give that position to a white folk. So I think a lot of black folks think that that's why DEI was put into place to even the playing field at corporations and things like that.
Anytime you manufacture, anytime you, you manufacture, uh, you trying to control how people do things or run their businesses, you set yourself up for failure. Black people we don't need that. We had done a very good job all these years of demonstrating our education and our knowledge about things, and we always succeeded. We do not need DEI to do that. And what you do when you hire DEI, what when you hire DEI, you do not hire the best qualified in that position. What you do is hire based on color. I'm sorry, there's some things that DEI does not work well in. I don't want a DEI. I don't want a black doctor. If it came down to me
Hired
doing
off of DEI.
if I need a brain surgery, I want the best person to do the job. I don't want just somebody that's look black. I need a black person. This is my life in the hands. It's no different than
Right.
when Charlie Kirk was preaching about how DEI with airplanes and how you want the best pilot. You don't want a DEI hire when you 30,000 feet in the air. You
See, and
want
I guess what
the
I
best
guess what
qualified person.
and I agree exactly what you're trying to say, Joe. The best person for that position should be
Yeah.
get that job. Without DEI. But without DEI, a lot of those black folks that we're talking about, that's educated, that has the experience, would not even be invited into the building to be
Into the
able to
conversation,
get those
period.
jobs. But
That,
go ahead, I'm
that
gonna allow
that's
you to come
that's
in, Big Ken.
that's not
But
I
go ahead,
just
Joe.
feel like
I'm gonna allow Big Ken to come in, and then you can come back in and rebut that.
I just got a few things I want to say about that. I just feel like why is there anything that came along with black people that they trying to take it away now? Like you might not think the DEI or whatever it's called mean anything, affirmative action, or all those programs, but they was all set in place because we came from a
They had the
racist
right idea.
background. Say it again.
It has the right the ideal. I understand the idea, and I understand the why it was done. I don't want to discredit that part. I don't want to take that
Right, you
away.
can't. That's the part that I don't want us to discredit because everything was put in place for black people because of the struggle and the things that we went through, not because we were treated fairly.
Mm-hmm.
So those all those programs was put in place for minorities, not just black people, but my people of poor people that felt like they had no other options but to go with what other people were saying. But when programs are put in place, you have other options. We had no option. That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. The word
Okay,
Okay.
options, I
now
guess,
you
is
can
the
come
word,
back
the
in,
big
Joe, and
word
finish
right
what you were
now.
saying. I just wanted to hear Big Ten statement on that. Yeah, but yeah, so this is why it's important for conversations like this, to be talked about. I think this is a great conversation to have, going forward. Like I said, this whole conversation was about how important it is for us to continue to talk about things like that. Just from the video alone, I think a lot of people, will take away from that we're dealing with a group of people back in those times that did not have our best interests, and a lot of people can say that going forward in today's era, you know what I mean? So I think
But
DEI and things like that were set in place and were important in different type of in companies that normally wouldn't even hire black folks or wouldn't even get a foot in the door. So I
Right.
think, and I'll go back and I'll let you come back and combat that, Joseph. But I think DEI was important for situations like that to be able to even the playing field, because they weren't going. White folks in those type of business wasn't going on, your education level or what you knew or the best candidate for that position. They were just going on, on race alone. So I think
that's
that's why
but
DEI was
but
put into place. But go ahead, Joe.
no, you saying it. That's no. What you're saying is incorrect.
Okay, go ahead.
When you put DEI in it, that is exactly what it does. It hire based on black. Before DEI was put in place, you knew when a black person was in that position, you knew that person knew that job. When you had a black engineer that was hired before DEI was in place, you knew that person knew his job. You knew he crawled and whatever he had to do to get there, but you had no doubt that that person knew that job. When
Now I
you
want to ask you this question though:
hold
was
on,
it a
let me
lot of
finish.
those
Let me
same
finish.
black people that
Let me finish.
knew that
Let me
job
finish.
that was overlooked because of their color? But go
Uh,
ahead, Joe.
but let me finish. When you hire based on DEI, you put an asterisk on that person now. So now you have to wonder if that person know the job or not. But before then, black people that was hired before DEI, you knew for certain that that person knew that job. You didn't have a doubt, you didn't have a question, and you didn't have to even think twice. Now, when you hire on a DEI, you have to wonder if he's a status quo, if this person was done based on DEI. You have all these doubts that black people never had before. We
Now
had
I
the credential.
Now, I
We
would
didn't
agree
need
with
that.
you. I would agree with you on certain companies that actually hire black folks, for their experience and their knowledge, but you had majority of these companies were not hiring black folks because of their experience, because of what they knew. A lot of them, that's where DEI, I think, came in, to be able to help, black folks be able to get in position to be able to get those jobs because we were overlooked because the color of our skin. So I could be wrong about that, Joe, but Big Ken, you come on and give me your thoughts and your opinion on that.
I just got, I'm still stuck at the same thing, bro. Why does it mean so much to the president to abolish everything that we have did for black people, not just DUI, DI, or whatever y'all saying? That's just
DEI.
one of many things. We can really get off of that. Why was it
Okay.
in his program to abolish everything that black people have did? I'm just saying, from Martin Luther King on down, it seemed like he's trying to erase. I don't have a problem. It's Black History Month, so we got a right to talk and say the things that we feel right now. So I'm just saying how I feel. Why was it important for him to abolish everything that we did?
And
Let
I'll
me ask
let
you-
Joe
let-
answer that, and,
let-
and, and
let-
I'll let you answer that, Joe. But I understand exactly what you're saying, Joe. You're saying at one point we didn't need DEI because we knew what black person that was coming into that business, that they were
yes.
hired off of their work ethic, their knowledge, and things like that. Why do you think DEI was implemented in the first place, Joe?
Well, but that was the reason. It was white people trying to level the playing field, right? It was black people who fought to level the playing field. But I always say this: you don't do it by force. When you force people to accept you, it's never genuine. It's never real when you force people to accept you. What my grandfather did in GM, and what black people had done, they didn't do it by bagging. They did it by force. And when you force people to see it another way than you having policies and government policies, anytime the government step into things, it's never gonna be right for us. So DEI did more than just that. DEI also kept us into a victim mindset because now we feel as if we are owed something instead of us proving that's us. And that's why DEI did not work for black people. You tell me where DEI actually helped us at. It didn't. Just tell me any situation where you know that person was done by DEI, it benefit us. It
Well,
lowered the standard. When you are
okay,
hiring
see,
based on race, you lowered the standard.
and I can agree with you on that, but it'll probably be a lot of people that will disagree and
Right.
say that
There's
DEI
gonna be a
has
whole
put
lot of
blacks
people
in.
that disagree
And
with that.
yeah,
A
it
whole
probably
lot of
will.
people.
You'll probably have a lot of people that will disagree. But look, we have a lot of people that's in here watching. I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. The comment section is definitely open. We're talking about, this is a Black History moment. The importance on why we should not forget or let, our government try to, wipe Black history away or try to help us forget what happened to our ancestors. So we're just doing our part on, on our Black History moment. But yeah, Big Ken, I'll get back to that. You probably will have a lot of people that probably would agree and disagree, with Joe's statement. I believe I agree with Joe to a certain point. I think, back before DEI was put into place, they were hiring candidates just off of their work skill, their work level or whatnot, their experience, I should say. But you did have some businesses, Joe, that would not even give black people that was credited, that deserved to be part of, that company or to have that job, So I think that's why I think DEI came into play. Why the government, because why would you have the government trying to implement something that would help black folks out anyway? So go ahead, Joe.
And more, I'm just reading some of the comments.
You know what? I can't
And
even
here,
see the comments, so they must be coming in on Facebook.
well,
I mean,
yeah, it
yeah,
is
on
on Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Okay. And also when we talk about DEI,
Oh,
we
let me go
gotta
to
get
Facebook.
we gotta get past Trump. And I want to rebuttal what I want to challenge you, Big Hand, about Trump. I think we got the wrong perception of Trump. Trump, I am happy that he's erasing all that stuff. And you say he erasing. I don't really see where he
I
erased
didn't
sin.
say that at all. I
Well,
didn't say that.
you said that Trump is uh
Taking
slowly
away a lot of the.
take away a lot of things. I
He
don't
is.
see what
Why did it matter to him to do that? That's
but
what
let me
I'm
ask you a
asking
question.
you.
We don't need that.
That's your opinion.
No. It's not an opinion, it's a fact.
Oh, okay, well, that's
We
your
don't
fact.
need we don't need white people to continuously help us to remember our history. It is our responsibility to teach our history. I don't need Trump to hold a statue of Martin Luther King. We don't need that. We don't need
Why why
symbolism.
why
We
don't
do
we
not.
why don't we need a statue of Martin Luther King? Why don't we need that?
Why do we need it? Tell me where
He,
it has. Tell me where a
why do they
statue of
need
Martin.
why do they need all the presidents and the Greek statues and little boys sitting on their laps and things of that nature? Why do they need those statues?
What statue?
The Greek statues of the old uh before the things that we are talking about now, when they had little boys and sitting on their laps and stuff.
Yeah, he talk about the Roman, the Greeks, and
Yeah,
what all the statues that they
I'm
have.
just talking about
What
the
about
statues. We talking
Mount
about
Rushmore? Do they need
right.
a Mount
Why
Rushmore?
right.
So let me ask you a question. Regardless of what, remember, we are the minority, right? So if
Of the
we want
United
to,
States?
Of the
yes,
United States.
but
Let's get that right.
okay, all right. So let me say this, Dan. All the statue that you think there's need to be there, Martin Luther King and whatever else black statues is out
It's
there.
not that I think that. I want to know why
Which
you don't
and I
think
don't
that
want to
they
cut
should
both
be
you
there.
guys off, which we know
Uh, uh,
statues are put there for symbolic reasons, to remind people of what society or what people dominated, at that time too. So statues are, symbolic to, to each culture and each race.
I'm cool with the statue part, but just focus. Let's get off the statue because it
Okay.
doesn't really help us. A
Okay.
statue doesn't help us. We got statue. I've been to Washington D.C. and I see the statue of Martin Luther King. You go to other places where if that black person in that town was very prominent, you saw a statue there, right? Tell me where in any of those statues has unify us as black people. Tell me how that symbolism has actually helped us. Explain it to me where it has unite us. Tell me what it has done.
So you don't remember when we was being sprayed with water hoses and we couldn't drink from the same fountains and all the racial stuff that happened to us in the 60s and 70s? I'm telling you why now.
So let me ask you a question. That statue there does what again?
It reminds you of the struggle and the person that helped us with the struggle, Martin Luther King.
So you need a statue
No,
to
I don't need
remind
a
you.
statue. I'm just telling you why the statue don't hurt nothing. I will have a
I,
statue of me sitting right here because I love me.
the statue is cool. I'm not against the statue part. Here's what I push back at you. Black history do not need to be remembered by white people. I do not need white people to talk about black history ever again. We don't need to
I
be
agree with
taught.
you on that.
We don't need
That's something
it.
that needs to be taught
We
from
don't need
us.
it to be taught. We don't need to be taught in schools. We don't need it to be taught through white lenses. We need it to be taught through us. It's our
I
job at
agree. I
home.
agree with you on that, Joe. I agree 1000%, bro. That's why I was called history. His story, not our story. His story.
History
His
is
story,
our
not your story, bro. His
no
story.
no. History is our story. But we
Okay,
need. But
but when
we
they
don't
tell
need it.
history, they
I
don't
don't need
never
it.
tell our story. They always tell his story.
There is that is what.
I'm gonna read one of the comments. Quincy Jackson said Martin Luther King statue was made for the civil rights movement. Now go ahead, Joe.
Also, it's history that we need to teach. I don't
True.
need I don't need that damn statue to tell my sons about what Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or Marcus Garvey had done. I don't need a damn statue for that. That is the problem with black people. For some reason, we need to be reminded of the history. I agree, because if you don't know your history, you will find yourself repeating it.
So Joe,
So I'm not mad about history.
why was it such a big deal for them to knock the noses off the Sphinx if it didn't mean anything?
The who?
The
The
noses
Sphinx
off
in
the Sphinx,
African
all the
Egypt.
statues that you see over in Africa and
The
in
Sphinx,
those
they call
in that
Sphinx.
continent. Yeah, all the noses are knocked off. So statues are symbolic, and
Because
at the end
it
of the day,
meant
they
something.
do mean a lot.
They was trying to cover up a lie. The statues
Yeah,
meant something.
but
I,
I agree. I agree with both of you guys. I agree with Joe. What Joe's saying, statues should not um have a play in what white society, like far as just white, I agree with Joe saying white folks should not be trying to teach black history to black folks. It's not their job to teach us our history. I agree with him on that. It's us, and this is
I
why
don't.
we have conversations and talks like this. It's up to
I
us to have conversations and be able to
I
remind our youth and our people and to educate white folks too that don't know about the
I
things
don't.
that we're talking about today. But go ahead, Joe.
We don't. I don't. I don't care what Trump do about statues and all that. I can care less about that.
Me either, Joe. Me either.
And I don't know why people are on an uproar about it. It's your job to teach your history, and if you need white people to teach your history, then you still stuck. You still stuck. And I don't understand it. I don't get the logic behind that. But it's another way to keep us in victimhood. And we no longer there no more. I don't want to hear about what Black history. I don't really don't give a damn about Black history, to be honest with you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think it's important for us to have conversations like this then?
I think it's very important for us to have conversation like this for different reasons, though. It's
Okay.
not to it's not to sit here and blame the white man for why Black history is only 28 days, which they gave us this, and we still celebrate it every February. So I don't understand some of y'all that still talk like this because it has not helped us. You want to change history, you want to talk about Black history, raise your kids up right. Hold these gang members accountable. That's Black history. Remind them of
All of
what,
that is part of the struggle, Joe. That's true.
Yep.
but
So
we don't need, but we don't need a
that's
statue
why I
to do
want to
that.
have this conversation today. Big Hen is definitely bringing up some great points, and Joe is definitely bringing up some great points. Me, in my opinion, these conversations need to be had more all the time, not just in February. Like Joe said, it's not up to our oppressors or to white folks to teach us our history. It's up to us to remind ourselves of our history, to educate our own selves, to educate our youth. I want to come on here and
I,
have a Black History moment, and just educate any of the youth that may not know the things that we're talking about, like
let
what
me t-
happened to those people in St. Louis,
Can
the
can
poisoning
I
that they
say
did to
this?
those people. A lot of those people are suffering now today from cancer because what was done. So, we need to remind our people of things that went on in the past so we won't fall for those same tricks of today.
and when you talking about, and this is where history matters, and we talk about it amongst each other, because I feel victim of taking that COVID-19 shot.
I didn't do it.
I did it, and
Yeah.
now do I. And guess what happened? When I made that decision to take that COVID-19 shot, I didn't think about my history. I didn't think about
Yeah,
how
because a lot of
they
us don't. A
use
lot of
they.
us go on the knowledge that our doctors give us, and most of these doctors are white or foreign doctors.
I
So we
agree,
go off of what they're telling us, and history shows that that they have not had the best interest of our health in the
and
past or to this day. Go ahead, Joe.
and this is where I want to get at. This is a reason why history matters, is that we teach each other generational history about Black people. We teach each other, ourselves, that, and not rely on white people or any other race to do that. Because when I took that COVID-19 shot, I wasn't thinking about the experiments that was used against us and Tuskegee Institute and all those other things, and Alabama, and how they were using us as experiment. And I felt as if when I took that COVID-19 shot, I was recycling history all over again by taking that shot. This
Yeah,
is
because I want
why
to ask you that after watching that video that we watched today, how do you feel now after taking that COVID shot?
well, I'll tell you what happened to me after I took that COVID shot. When I took that damn COVID shot, I was at work on the line. I was at work at Mac, Dame, and I damn near passed out. It was moments after, not moments, but like few weeks after I took that COVID shot, I had my first time where I felt as if I had some type of attack. Like I felt like I was having a heart attack. And I passed out and I had to go home. I had to go to the hospital through the ambulance from work. I ain't never passed out in my life before. I've never had an incident like in my health issue until I took the COVID shot. And what I was mad at myself, not the doctors, none of that, because they lied to us. The COVID shot didn't do a damn thing to help none of us, and it didn't stop none of us getting COVID. None of that. But I participated in that experiment all over again. And if I was studying and remembering my history without being taught, there's no way I took that shot. If I was actually doing research on that history and remembering my history, that's why it's important for us to repeat and teach each other history, so we won't repeat history again.
You
I
hit it on
wasn't
the
thinking about
nose,
my
Joe.
past,
You,
so I
hey,
took that
I couldn't
shot.
have said it no better, man. You hit it right on the nose. That's why it's important for us to have conversations like this,
Yeah,
to actually remind us of certain things that may have went on in the past,
yeah.
that may still be going on to this day. Because I'm gonna be honest, man. I think they running the same plays as they've been running since the
They run the
beginning of
same play,
time.
dude.
They just switched up a few things.
I agree.
Yeah.
They run the same play.
I
That's
agree.
why
I
it's
agree.
important. The school
Yeah.
never
So
taught me
that's what.
about that.
Yeah, so that's why conversations like this are important. That's why Black History moments are important. And it always should be taught by us. Not for no other reasons alone. But yeah, that was a perfect example, Joe. These
Yeah.
are that was a perfect reason why conversations like this should be had. But Ken, give us your last words, give us your last thoughts on why it's important for us not to forget what was done to our ancestors, and why it's important for us to continue, talking about Black history.
I'm gonna say this to Joe. I agree with you were saying, brother, 1,000% about we need to teach our own people
Mm-hmm.
about our history. That I do agree with 1,000% because just like you bringing up the COVID shot and all of that, it's the same play. They with them putting the smallpox in the blankets for the Indians. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
it's a lot of things that's going on that we can control by simply feeding our families the information that they need
Yep.
to know
I
about what
agree.
happened, because
Yep.
ain't nobody else gonna do it. Ain't nobody else gonna share the sympathy that we got for the things that happen to our people. So we
Yep.
got to
I
talk
agree.
about it. We can never not talk about it. We don't have to woe is me about everything, but it need to be a conversation because
Yep.
we as Black people, we got to come together for one common goal. If there's nothing else but history for our kids. So
I agree with that.
And before we end the show, both of you guys hit on great facts, great points. And you said this earlier, Big Ken, and we talked about this. Why? And I want white folks to, if you are in the comment section or you listening, or just comment down below, why do you think that they were not doing these same experiments in white areas? Why were they not spraying these chemical agents? Why were they not experiment on white folks with the what was the experiment they did with the Tuskegee Airmen? Why didn't you
syphilis.
hear about them experiment on white men with syphilis, to see how it reacts in their body, versus seeing how it works on us? So these are the things that needs to continue to be talked about. A lot of our youth do not know about this. And then it also educates the white community to let them know the different things that their ancestors were doing, to our ancestors, to educate them too. So this is an educational moment for both sides. You know what I mean? So this should always be talked about. No matter of what our government is trying to do to take it away, because we need to be reminded for simple situations like Joe said with the COVID shot. But Joe, give everybody your last words. Let everybody know what you got going on and where they can reach you. Okay, hold on. Joe's getting ready to come back in. All right, Joe, my bad. Look like you were having a few technical difficulties. Let everybody know where they can reach you and what you got going on. You up there, Joe, but I can't see you or hear you. So we'll just wait for Joe to come back in and give his last words. But yeah, Big Ken, I think this was an important conversation. I think this was a great Black History moment to remind not just our people, but white folks, why we continue to, have Black History Month, why we continue to talk about these issues and things like that. Okay, Joe's getting ready to come back in. Joe, look like you having a few. Hold on, let me bring this one back out, Joe. Let me remove that one. Okay, there we go, Joe. Can you hear me? There you go. Joe?
Well, let
Okay,
me say this since it's
yeah,
Black
go ahead, Big
History.
Ken.
Let me say this since it's Black History Month. I would challenge everybody to go out here and look up and study Dr. Henry Clark.
Okay, well, Joe, can you hear me, Joe? I can see you, but I just can't hear you. So I just wanted to come up here for a minute and just just give my point, give my Black History moment, and just talk about this for a second. Like I said, that video came through my feed, and I'm like, I just have to talk about that. I'm quite sure it was a lot of people that did not know about that, and I was one. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront. Okay, here we go. Joe's coming back in. Can you hear us, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Okay. Well, look, we getting ready to end the show. Give us your last words, Joe, on this conversation, and let everybody know what you got going on and where they can reach you.
Well, my last word on this is that we got a lot of work to do. We still relied on other people to help us with our history, and it has never benefited us. It's time for us to take control of that. We no longer need Black History Month. We no longer need a president or a blackface to represent us anymore. It is time for us to lead and take control. And again, DEI and all that stuff is not important. History can't repeat itself if we don't teach it, and it's our responsibility to work, put the effort in, and control our own narrative and control our history. So that's all I want to say on that.
Okay. Well, look, I want to thank both of you guys for coming on, giving me your thoughts, giving your opinion. In my opinion, it's definitely important for us to, to continue to talk about our history, to inform and educate, those before us and those after us. You know what I mean? And then not only that, it gives an example to those whites that's before us now to show them what type of things that their ancestors were doing to our people back in those days. But most important, man, at the end of the day, is to educate our people, so these same mistakes and these same things that we allow happen, so we won't go through these same things again. But it definitely was a great conversation. We're definitely going to do a follow-up to that, and definitely go over there and check Joe out. He's over there on Threads. He has some great conversations, get involved, and we're waiting for you to go in there and launch that page too. You too, Big Ken, on them kennels. So look, I want to thank both of these guys for coming on to the show. It was a great conversation, and we're going to have more of these conversations, and Black history shouldn't just be for 1 month. It should be a way of living, and a way of life, So look, I don't have anything else to add. It's your boy Dame D, and I am out. Peace.
Peace.